Welcome to another episode of The Second Coming. I'm Jason Keeton. I'm here with your minister, Brother T. Brother T, I have a question on this path of awakening. If we are spiritual beings awakening and parts of ourselves are still asleep, what are we still asleep to? And is the experience we're having right now just a glimpse of a memory of the soul? Or is it something we're actually creating?
So, is the experience we're having right now a memory of what?
Is this even real? Is this just a glimpse or a memory of the soul that has already happened? Or are we actually creating everything we are experiencing new?
Are you saying it's like my soul is sleeping and I'm having a memory of the past?
Well, in a ways, like are we awakening from a dream in that aspect of it? Are we still simply a soul awakening, and this experience we have is a glimpse of the soul's memory?
When we say awakening, it's like in the morning when you first wake up from the sleeping self. You almost feel like you're in two dimensions. You still are kind of dreamy, you're drifting in and out, but you are present to the waking up, the body's waking up. So you're transitioning from, one dimensional experience to another experience, right?
Sure.
So which part of you is waking up?
And that's part of what my deeper understanding or yearning is my soul awakening, or is it already experiencing everything? Am I just remembering parts of my dream? Is this all what role do I have in this incarnation? What's my role going forward, basically? Am I here to create something? Am I here just to observe? Am I here just to simply live out? There has to be a reason why I'm incarnated here. There has to be a reason why I'm doing this spiritual podcast with you, or maybe there's no reason at all, and maybe this is I'm just looking for trying to wrap my head around this idea of what it means to be Christ consciousness, I guess. What does that mean to be Christ consciousness, if that's what we're even supposed to be?
It's a good question. So let me ask you this question. If you're asleep at night, how can that sleeping self start being what you're being now? How can that sleeping self be who you're being now? When you're waking up to a different self. So how can the sleeping self, what can the sleeping self do to be who you are now? Nothing.
Right.
It can't do anything, can it? Because it's limited in its even understanding of your reality. It's completely oblivious that you're safe at home in bed. Your mind is split. Your mind is split. Part of your mind is believing itself to be somewhere that it's not physically, but you still feel you have a body. And like I was telling you recently, I've been in hot tubs and I've been on motorcycles. I've been driving cars and, I've been doing all kinds of, I've been doing lots of things. And while I'm doing those things on a Navy ship, and I'm completely oblivious that I'm safe at home in bed. So how can I get that sleeping self to be who I'm being now? What can I do to that sleeping self? How can I help that sleeping self to realize what it doesn't realize? How can I help it do that? I can't.
You have to wake it up, right? It has to wake up.
Well, no, I can't. No? It's not me.
Okay.
I can't fix. its limited understanding of reality, because it's not all of it. It's just a little sliver of me, right? It's not my true self. It's my sleeping self, and it's not even aware that I'm safe at home in bed. I can't give it more mind. I can't change its perception. Really,
Is
I can't fix it. All I can
is
do
what
is
we're
awaken from it.
experiencing?
I can only awaken from it.
Right.
When I wake up from it, I have a completely different capacity for knowing, for learning, for understanding, for being, right? But if my sleeping self realizes that it's safe at home, that the bigger part of me is safe at home in bed, like in other words, if my sleeping self was to begin to realize that I'm safe at home in bed, it's like, oh, I gotta fix myself. I gotta do something. I gotta, because it's beyond its capacity to grasp my actual physical reality is safe at home in bed. So I can worry about it. I can focus on it. I can try to get my sleeping self. I'll focus all day on getting my sleeping self to be smarter tonight when I go to sleep. Can I do that? Will I have an impact on it? No. When I drift off to sleep, I go right back into that limited aspect of reality, because I'm only using a small portion of my actual capacity, my actual intelligence, my actual mind. My mind is split, and I'm unaware of the bigger part of me, right? So your question is a great question, because it's coming from a place of like the sleeping self trying to be who you are now. It can't be, because its existence is in literally a different dimensional construct, right? And the thinking self has also this self right now, the egoic, walking and talking in the physical body default operating system, has developed a construct of reality. And as long as it believes in that construct, then all of your experiences are in alignment with that construct, capacity, and limitations. And so it's thinking all day long. That's what it is, a thinking self. The sleeping self at night is the sleeping self. And this self, the default operating system of the egoic mind, is the thinking self. So in order to transcend the sleeping self at night, I have to become the thinking self. I have a dimensional shift of consciousness, right? My mind literally expands. I can remember, I was there all night. I remember my dreams. I remember what was going on. And I wake up and can remember those dreams for a little bit, but then it just kind of fades away, because dreams have no effect. It's not really who I am. And I wake up and say, oh no, this is who I am. But what we're learning, and it's not within the capacity of the thinking self to understand God, to understand what that dimensional shift is. It's not within, let me say it this way, it's not within the capacity of the sleeping self to fully know what it's like to be the thinking self that you are now in this form of life, expressing through body. And so it's not within the capacity of the thinking self to understand the Holy Spirit, to be, quote unquote, the Holy Spirit, because the Holy Spirit is a different aspect of your mind. And this thinking self is oblivious to that aspect of mind, like the sleeping self is oblivious to this thinking self being asleep at night in bed. So the controlling, thinking, egoic mind wants to be in control and to know all those things. But you can't get the sleeping self to know this existence, and you can't really get this self to know that existence. It's a shift of consciousness, and it is becoming a self that we have been oblivious to, and it's called the Holy Spirit. So what we're actually doing when we are transcending this reality, when we are becoming enlightened, when I move from being a sleeping self at night to this awakened self here, the thinking self, That is an enlightenment. That's an experience of full-on enlightenment from one-dimensional understanding of my reality to a completely different dimensional experience of my reality, right? And it's something that we can deal with, and we've been doing it our entire life, right? Our entire existence in form, because the body needs rest and so forth. But your true self doesn't sleep. It doesn't have a body, and it doesn't need rest. It's an eternal spirit extension of God. God doesn't sleep. The body is the aspect of us are because we're in this system of form, right? Now, that's not to say that the mind of God, that there is not a period of rest in the journey to the unknown. You know, he's very clear about that. There is a time of where everything just kind of freezes, and I don't want to confuse everybody by getting into that discussion in the moment now, but your question is valid. But what I'm trying to help you understand, a little bit of what I'm beginning to grasp, because I'm beginning to shift between, like a sleeping self and my thinking self. I'm beginning to shift between my thinking self and the Holy Spirit. And eventually I will become just like the sleeping self becomes completely assumed by the thinking self when you wake up. I already recognize that I'm being assumed by the Holy Spirit, my true self, more and more. And in time, like Jesus, when he was baptized by John the Baptist, I'll share this story very quickly. Tina Louise Spalding is a channel, and she through her study of A Course in Miracles, started first doing automatic writing, and then Ananda started communicating with her, kind of like the guides are communicating to her, to Paul Selig and through Paul Selig. And so now she, you know, expresses and allows Ananda, which was kind of the gatekeeper, this entity, and identified itself as Ananda. And Ananda then became the gatekeeper and introduced her to Jesus. And then ultimately now she communicates to the people that are in resonance with her teaching, the people that are attracted to her way of sharing all this information, through her, and Jesus is communicating through her. And so she doesn't go completely out. She's not what they call a trance channel. In other words, she just disappears, so to speak. She allows Jesus to speak through her, and she's in the background, just being present, not thinking, being present. The same thing, Paul Tuttle was channeling Raj, and he's really great stuff there. I point to that all the time in my emails. Christmind.info. If you click on the Raj materials, this is Jesus teaching A Course in Miracles. It began in 2002 and lasted for several years, and Paul Tuttle was the channel, and Jesus would say, Paul's here, but he's not thinking. He's being present so that I can express through him. So he was channeling, right? But when Jesus was baptized by John the Baptist, and in the story, and the reason I brought it up is because Tina up is because she did channel Jesus, and it's a book called Jesus, My Autobiography. You can find it on Amazon by Tina Louise Spalding. I highly recommend it. So he literally told his own story, which is kind of what I'm trying to do in my new book here, Escaping the Gravity of Thought. I'm trying to just share my story of how I have transitioned from a complete commitment to egoic thought and being frightened of almost everything, operating in fear, unconsciously most of the time, but that's the foundation of that thought system, as well as being very judgmental and wrathful, sometimes vengeful, jealous, all the attributes that we've applied to God. But that's not God. That's the egoic thought system. And so all that to say, so here's Jesus telling, his story, that when he was baptized by John the Baptist, that's when he went out and just stumbled out of the river. He had some friends with him in line to be baptized, and he got a message from his guidance, right? That said, you need to go be baptized by John the Baptist. He's like, I don't even know, why am I doing that? Okay, well, I'll go do that. And he had some of his friends with him in the line up there. And they're like, okay, we'll go with you. And anyway, when he became baptized, he came out of the water, and he's in his autobiography, he's like, it's like mind blown, right? He's just suddenly whoa, all this inrush of the transition, like transitioning from sleep at night to the awakened self in the morning. A complete transition, a dimensional transmission or transition from one state of consciousness to a completely different state of consciousness. And so when he would look at people, he would, he could see the energetic field of their bodies and see where they were harboring ideas of fear or judgment. And that was what was causing their sickness. He could literally see the energy of the mind of God, kind of like you watched, I'm sure you've seen the movie, The Matrix, right? The series, the 2 or 3 movies,
Sure.
right? Sure. And at the end of the first movie, what was his name? EO? Not EO, what was it?
I don't know, the one that Keanu Reeves plays. I can't remember, but yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, whatever his name was, he was able to see the scenery of that last scene when he was able to just see the energetic vibration of everything. That to me was just epic as an example of what Jesus was able to see. He was just able to see the energetic flow of anything. In other words, not just looking at the form itself, but seeing the energy of the form in motion and the energy of the body and the thoughts that people were holding and how they were entrained and kind of held in the body and causing disease. The fears and the judgments and the vengeance, right? And the just all of this thinking stuff. Thoughts are things. And we hold these thoughts energetically in our body. We're either projecting them or ejecting them, right? And we'll eject them into our body or project them out onto somebody else or whatever. Anyway, all of that to say, it's a complete, like going from sleeping self at night to this awakened self of the thinking mind, to transition from this to the mind of the Holy Spirit, which is nothing more than your right mind, is a complete dimensional transition. Okay? And we're trying to get the egoic mind to even imagine that, to grasp it, and it can't. We can only experience it by having the experience of transformation. Then when the Holy Spirit, and that's what was going on with Jesus, his true self became who he was being. He was being God in form. When you see me, you see the Father. And that's what we have the potential to do. And so while we struggle and converse about it and talk about it and imagine it and create movies about it, all those things, what would it be like? What would it be like? The sleeping self at night can imagine all it wants, what it's going to be like to be the awakened thinking self that I'm being right now, but it can't. It can only have the experience, and that sleeping self is still with me, but it can't really make that transition. And the egoic self can't really make that transition to become the true self, as much as it would like to control that experience and manage that experience and have that experience. It can't. It can only surrender control so that the Holy Spirit, nothing more than our right mind, can then become who we are now in form. And that's what Jesus experienced. Full-on enlightenment. And so he's out in the woods for weeks. And he had a beard, and he wasn't really eating. His body became kind of, decimated. He lost a lot of weight. He finally decided, okay, I think I've worked through this transformation enough, now he was literally being a new self. And guess what? That name was Christ. What we're talking about, Jason, is you and I and our brothers and sisters and those who are watching this conversation right now. I know we're getting way wooey now, way wooey, right? Woo woo. Yeah, this is about you becoming Christ. The ego cannot become Christ. Only your soul can. You are the soul, and your soul can become the literal expression of God in form. And that's a different reality. It's a different dimensional experience of this reality. This is a dimensional, what we're seeing now, how we are experiencing this is a dimensional experience through the eyes of the thinking mind. What we call our personality, egoic thought system. But when you attain enlightenment, and the ego can't do it. It can only get out of the way of it. Just like the sleeping self can only get out of the way of you waking up. It can only just let go of the mind's giving it that attention, right? That conscious awareness. So it's really, what we're talking about is hard to understand because we can't really have that, the egoic mind can't have that experience. It has to surrender, and when we become Christ, and we're so, we've been conditioned that, oh, well, you can't even do that. Only Jesus, he was really he's the only child of God. And guess what? You're not capable. You're not even worthy. You're a sinner. You're arrogant. How dare you say that you can be Christ? See, it's already baked in. The ego has already baked it into our belief system so that we don't even try. Right? And I'm helping you understand, right? Because this is just helping. This is me helping me. I mean, I'm being helped with this conversation here, right?
Right.
This is not something that we're going to ever get the ego to do. So what can we do? Sit down and shut up. And how hard is that? It's really hard because I got a lot of crap to do today. I got people that depend on me, and I got to make some damn money, and I got to feed my body, and I gotta do. But when we have that experience, and you will, because of Course in Miracles, Jesus says, only the time in which you take the curriculum is up to you, but you will take the curriculum, and you will fulfill and graduate. You will become Christ. But when you become Christ, you're not the ego. And you're certainly not the sleeping self. You're a different you. And so the only thing we can do is to get out of the way. The sleeping self has to get out of the way so we can wake up to the egoic self, thinking mind. And this thinking mind, unfortunately, has to let go. Where's the sleeping self right now? It doesn't exist. And when you become Christ, the egoic mind really kind of doesn't exist anymore. It's still, a memory, like the sleeping self is a memory when you wake up in the morning, right? And you see it for a moment, but we literally begin to see everything as Christ in perfect safety because we have dissolved our mind into the perfect peace of God. We have become God in form. We have become Christ. We have become love expressing here in this dimensional construct of form. And the only way we can get there is to be present. To be present. To be present. And to tell that thinking self, get thee behind me. I'm not listening to I'm just going to become, like we recently talked about, I'm going to be the observer. I'm going to become the observer because the ego's not you, and you can step back from it and observe the thinking self and be the presence of awareness. See? And in that state of attention, awareness, and clear consciousness, right? Not being distracted, the Holy Spirit, which is nothing more than your right mind, can begin to come forth from your heart and begin to be you. And it's not going to, we can talk about a couple people like Byron Katie and Eckhart Tolle, who literally were on the threshold of committing suicide because they just didn't want to live anymore because their life sucked, and the ego was saying, well, you still get out of this, you can kill yourself. That's the ego's game, is for you to keep dying, to experience death. That's its entire purpose, is for you to die, to experience death. But you can't truly experience death. Like the ego, the sleeping self didn't truly die because it wasn't truly you. And you can't truly die, right? Because the thinking self isn't truly you. But just like the sleeping self is now you, expressing as the thinking self here in the awakened state of consciousness, the next level is becoming Christ, the second coming. No one left to crucify. What think you? What say you?
So that's great. And when some of us start experiencing, like yourself, like when you start experiencing the glimpses and the in-between consciousness, and you start having this true self, the Holy Spirit, start to awaken. Just a quick sidetrack. There's a saying, before enlightenment, wash the dishes. After enlightenment, wash the dishes. When we start awakening, do we even have a need for this body? Are we Christ consciousness? Is that going to still use your body? Is it going to still use my body when we awake from this dream?
Well, the whole point of it is for the you to express as your true self. The whole purpose of incarnation is for the purpose that the soul has, and your true self is that you become God in form, more of God. So here you are in a world of form where you can literally smell something, and you can literally feel something, and you can literally taste something, and you can see, and you can touch form. And this is not in the spirit realm, as best as we can imagine it. There's no form. It's all mind. This is a construct of the mind of God, where we can actually experience ourself and God in a textual way, right? A tactile way, if I'm saying the right words, pronouncing it correctly. And what a great experience that is. And we can experience sex, and we can experience birthing, and all of that in a way, a state of enlightenment, which is similar to having a lucid dream, where I've had dreams, the one I've shared with you a few times about, being on that Navy ship and then walking on the water, but it was actually a whale's back or something like that, and then suddenly I'm on this next boat. I became awake and realized that I was sleeping. And so I asked the sailor, "Where are you from?" I don't know why I asked the sailor that. And he said, blah, 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 blah. He couldn't tell me where he was from because I hadn't given him the thought, because he was me. When you awaken to your true self, you're only seeing yourself expressing his form. How fun is this? To be able to see this dimensional construct in a lucid form of consciousness called the awakened mind of God, of the Holy Spirit, nothing more than your true self, the extension of love itself, being here in form. It's a party. The body becomes perfect in its manifestation and its expression. There's no sickness. You're not holding on to thoughts and judgments and vengeance. And you don't get, your body is perfectly healthy, and you don't age, and you just are projecting yourself into form as Christ in perfect safety and playing here in the Garden of Eden. Why would you want to leave the Garden of Eden? You play here as long as you want to. You're already in it. But because we see it through the eyes of a limited construct called the ego, we turned it into shit. And we judge each other and kill each other and birth and think we're dying. What's the purpose? The purpose is so grand and so magnanimous and so unimaginable, to be limitless in an expression of form, that the ego can't even imagine it. And it's like, well, why wouldn't you want to be here? This is the Garden of Eden. You just can't see it because you're seeing it through the filter of fear and judgment, the limited capacity of the egoic thinking mind. And it's only slightly more conscious than the sleeping self at night, which doesn't even know that you're sleeping in bed, that you're safe and home in bed. So I know we're trying to get there logically and with reason, but the only way to get there, the only way to wake up in the morning is to surrender the sleeping self-mind to this next level of dimensional experience, and the only way to become Christ to become fully enlightened is to become Christ in form, God in form, more of God. Am I making any sense?
Absolutely, absolutely, Brother T. And I think that's a crossroads when a lot of us that are seeking spiritual enlightenment, at some point, like you said, there's no more than you can do to seek. You just have to surrender to it and allow. And so it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing to desire the spiritual awakening, and it's a beautiful thing. But at some point,
there's many more dimensions.
Right.
In my Father's house are many rooms. There's unlimited dimensional experiences of God. This is the lowest level, the contracted level of the mind, a limited, very limited grasping of self. And it's so limited that we can't even grasp ourselves. I mean, we have to get the ego out of the way and awaken to our true divinity, capital D divinity, capital I identity, the ability to say, I'm hungry. Oh, here's an apple. And it's real. Because I'm manifesting instantaneously, because God has given me all that is. And I can experience it anytime. See, this is so far beyond the limited construct that we've made out of the Garden of Eden here that we can't even begin to imagine it. We can't, right? But the Holy Spirit knows. It's capital K, knowing self, capital S, self. So the only requirement is for us to sit down and shut up, make space to allow the Holy Spirit to begin the process of being joined in mind, in union, in relationship. It's called a holy relationship. Being in union. And what happens now is I'm having thoughts that are not egoic thoughts. All this lifetime, I've only experienced my own egoic thought because I thought that's all I was capable of experiencing. Just like the sleeping self at night is only experiencing its very limited thought perception of that reality, that dimensional construct, very small, boxed-in, limited construct of self. We've expanded now, but we're still in the house of illusion. The illusion is we think this is our only reality. It is our true reality. No. We're in the middle of the kingdom of heaven, sleeping under the apple tree, as an analogy, as a metaphor, dreaming that we're separate from God. And when that awakening occurs, everything is just God, which is just me. I am one with all that is, and all that is one with me. And now I can transcend and explore the entire universe of form. I can go to Mars now. I don't have to join Elon on the rocket ship. I can be there now. Anywhere I can imagine, I can experience being. This is the good news, right? This is the great news. This is it's just filling my heart with joy to even imagine just being there. And in this level of awareness is what we're talking about. True self-awareness, capital S, self.
Thank you, Brother T. Thank you for your words of enlightenment, for the pathway, I guess. It's beautiful to just sit and be part of the conversation and be part of the community. And thank all of you for joining with us in our conversation and sitting here and listening and just being with us. So thank you. And Brother T, we look forward to your book and the next chapters coming out. These are exciting things found at Substack. And we are just grateful to share this community with you and for your words of wisdom and your thoughts of being. So thank you, Brother T.
Absolutely. It's not me. It's really, I'm not. I am just the vessel. And I will tell you in wonder and gratitude how grateful I am, Jason, that we have these conversations and that you express your thoughts that give me a gateway into conversations and thoughts that are infilling and flowing through my heart. And I'm honored and blessed, and I'm just so grateful for you, brother. I'm so grateful for you.
Grateful for you also. So, and grateful for you, our community. Keep the questions coming. Keep the thoughts coming. And we will see you on another episode of The Second Coming.
Yes, we will. About a week from today. We love you. Thank you for hanging out. If you've been hanging out this long, thank you for sticking around with us. God bless you. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.